Welcome back to the Unintangibles Fantasy Football Show. I am your co-host, Jeff Shuella. It's Monday morning. Good morning, Mo Aurora.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us once again. Good morning. Good noon, Jeff Shuella. How's it going?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm pumped because we are definitely we're past the third week of preseason. Did you watch any of that?
No, I just saw highlights on Twitter, but there were some interesting ones, mostly sent by you. So I haven't needed to watch preseason because you're monitoring it well enough for both of us. So
We
it's
just
great.
need to watch. People just need to watch our show just to know what's going to happen, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Just count on Jeff to watch everything and see everything and share it all. So, and yeah, it's great because now I get the feeling of being like a viewer and a subscriber and a follower of the show because I'm following what you do with the Unintangibles. So keep it up.
We'll get into my obsessive behavior with fantasy football as the season continues. But yeah, I watched like a little bit. I watched about 15 minutes of a couple games just to see, if Aaron Rodgers was going to play. He didn't play. If DJ or Zeke was going to play last night, they did not play. So I just wanted to see what the stars were doing. And a lot of players didn't play this weekend. Saquon didn't play. Any disappointments? Did you want to see anyone in particular?
Well, I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of glad because, what if, one guy goes out and touches the ball 3 times for 7 yards, and then someone else goes out, plays the whole series, and it's like, he scores a touchdown or whatever. Is that going to change your mind about these guys? No, it's just their usage, right? So I'm glad that was sort of taken away from us in a way. I do have a couple players that I was interested in what they did that we can get to. Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, let's. I want to hear your first thing that was on your list there, just to see.
Well, that's why I threw it back to you because I have a feeling that we're number one on both of our list is Denver Broncos rookie running back Royce Freeman, who again broke off a 20-something yard touchdown run. And when we saw the first one that he did in the preseason, we said it was like, yeah, nice, but it looked like everybody was playing in slow motion, right? Well, that wasn't the case this time. That looked like real football, and he looked good. There's something about those sort of 20, 30-yard runs because there are running backs that are really good at the goal line, right, at scoring touchdowns. And then there are guys that can sort of score from 50, 60, 70 yards, right? But then, like, to be good at scoring from 20, 25 yards out, that's kind of impressive because you need to be able to hit excuse me, you need to be able to hit a hole hard and have bursts to get through the line. And you probably, there's a lot of traffic to go through. There's probably a lot of physicality to get through that second level as well. And, Freeman is a big guy and he's not going to be like a total burner, right? You're just hoping that he's a good enough athlete overall. And I think if you have a propensity to score from that kind of range, you do. Like, case in point, Derrick Henry. I like Derrick Henry. I don't think he's a guy who can score a lot of 25-yard touchdowns because he takes a while to sort of make it through. He can turn a short run into an 80-yard run.
Yeah.
But he doesn't seem like he has the right combination of both burst and physicality,
Yes.
But to see it twice out of Freeman in the preseason, it's encouraging,
Yeah, well, I think actually, if it's not his second, it could be his third touchdown. But what I liked was he scored different touchdowns in different ways. Like you said, like that first one, he looked like he was in low, but he faked out a guy and got to the outside and scored in the first week. And then yesterday, he did have a bit of a hole they gave him, but that's what the offensive line's supposed to do. And then he definitely knocked over a couple dudes in the secondary on the way to the end zone. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a good mix of both, and so I'm encouraged. Yeah.
Seems to be the it guy right now. Besides Saquon, he seems to definitely become that guy.
He's the new Geis.
He's the new Geis, yeah.
Well, especially because now that we've seen it, right? Like, that's the thing with Geis. Geis just sort of disappeared at the mere start of preseason. Like, as soon as you had a chance to see Geis, he was gone.
Yeah.
Right? He was like a ghost. And now Freeman's actually been like a guy who's being used like a starting running back, like a clear number one, and doing well with it. It seems like could be pretty good. I was saying that you might be getting the lead back on a 9-7 team. You might be getting the lead back on a 10-6 team if he's good. So who knows?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that he's the number one guy now. I mean, I think Booker is definitely the backup.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's even a question anymore. I mean,
Yeah. Would you draft him in the third round? Depending.
uh, yeah, I don't know. Third round is tough. Third, like, is that who you're choosing between? You're choosing between him and guys like
Mixon, maybe.
Mixon, McCaffrey, McKinnon, those kind of guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, McCaffrey is another guy I want to talk about next. So let's do it now. Okay, I'll say this: I'll take Freeman over McKinnon for sure.
Okay.
Probably Mixon. Because even though Mixon's a year older and a year more experienced, I think Denver's just a better situation than Cincinnati. So let's talk about McCaffrey. So McCaffrey, I don't know if I saw the final line for him, but at one point he was like, he had 10 rushes for 41 yards. So like they were making a point of let's see how well you can just be the guy and tote the ball, and he did okay with it. I don't expect him to be like excellent at like running the ball on the ground, especially those tougher runs up the middle or whatever. But if he can be okay at it, at least enough to respect that, such that you can also throw the ball. I don't know. Are you encouraged by a 10 rushes for 41 yards stat line from Christian McCaffrey or no?
But McCaffrey holding up, to be honest, if he's going to get a big workload, I would think about drafting CJ Anderson just as a standalone guy, even if you don't have McCaffrey on your team, because he's not the biggest dude. I mean, I don't think he should be a huge ball carrier like 20 times a game. I think he's the kind of guy that they should use in space and to, make plays just for him, obviously, but I would not be. I would draft him, I guess, as a low end RB1. I'd be more comfortable as a high end RB2, but I don't think he should be touching the ball 25 times a game.
Yeah, I think just the presence of CJ Anderson, he's not a just in case. Like he might as well do all the stuff that you kind of like wince at seeing McCaffrey do. So, I mean, they tried to make that point though. They gave him a shot to do it. So like that's encouraging. But I think once you get to that 10 carry mark, I'm sort of like, all right, that's enough. Like throw him a pass, you know what I mean? Throw him a screen pass or something.
Yeah, we'll see. I can see McCaffrey ending the season as like a number 10 or number 9 overall running back. I could see that happening.
That's his upside, I think. I think that's his potential, and that would be if it turns out he can both run the ball better than we think and catch the ball better than we think.
Yeah. We'll see. He's got a lot of weapons around this year, so we'll see how much they use them. I guess I think the only thing one of the main takeaways is I'm wondering if we're sleeping on the Bengals a little bit.
I probably am because I'm low on them across the board.
I think we all are because I mean not that it matters that much, but there's a lot of coach speak right now. But Marvin Lewis is saying that Tyler Eifert is finally ready to go. I know he said that every year, but he hasn't gotten hurt yet.
Right.
And obviously, I can't ignore bringing up John Ross, who torched Buffalo. He burnt them on that first play of the game yesterday. Like, he's got speed, man.
Yeah.
Speed.
Look, it just comes down to, for me, for Cincinnati, the two biggest things that I think that have like kept them in like the sort of mediocre wasteland is their head coach and their quarterback. And Marvin Lewis is still their head coach. Andy Dalton's still their quarterback. And I think even a great season for the Bengals, Andy Dalton is like I guess he has actually had a big fantasy year before. But I think say what you will about Mixon, about AJ Green, about John Ross, about Tyler Eifert, like they're all still beholden to how well Andy Dalton can do it. He's not that great. And you don't get any help from the coaching staff because Marvin Lewis is probably fine to like run practices and like get everybody excited to play, but like I don't know, he doesn't seem to, I don't know, and you get no help from the organization, which has no history of like bringing the best out of everybody. Like I don't.
So you don't see Andy Dalton having the ability to have one nice Matt Ryan type season?
He may already have though.
He did.
Years ago, he was like QB5 or something, right?
I'm just saying that if anyone's faster than Tyreek Hill, it's John Ross.
Fair enough. I will say, though, on that play, you sent me that clip. I saw it. It was impressive. John Ross got behind Buffalo secondary. You know what didn't get behind the Buffalo secondary? The throw by Andy Dalton. John Ross had to stop and come back for the ball. And part of the reason why it was such a great highlight by him is because he had to juke around these guys that he'd already ran past the first time. So, again, Andy Dalton, man, he's just too blah to make me feel excited about any of these. I'll take them. maybe some after spots, when the time comes, but like, I'm not excited about any of them. Sorry. I love Cincinnati. I've been to Cincinnati. I own a Bengals shirt, but
I will say, as a fantasy player, though, I know at a schedules, like anal schedules guy, I know the Bengals have one of the best schedules versus opponent this year. Mm-hmm. And I think John Ross is someone I would even put in the Keelan Cole category now, someone who's late, who I have a little more confidence in drafting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'd rather Dalton throwing the ball to me than Blake Bortles.
Fair enough. So would you say John Ross or Keelan Cole if you have that decision to make?
That's tough because Marquise Lee looks like he's out now.
At least for a little while.
Yeah, I guess I would say Keelan Cole, but who knows? We'd have to see how I would do in a draft situation.
Yeah,
both plays for baseball.
We'll see how you really feel about Andy Dalton when that time comes.
Final question, I guess. For final takeaway, the Titans.
Okay. Yeah. What about?
They look terrible.
They look terrible, eh?
They look terrible. So, do we get nervous at all? Obviously, a lot of fantasy drafts are done on recency bias, and even recency bias can, you have a bad impression in the dress rehearsal. Okay, so Rashard Matthews is off the PUP now.
Yeah.
Mariota hasn't looked good in any action apparently. Are you nervous at all about the Titans?
Well, yeah, a little bit, based on your review of them, but that's because I trust your opinion. Yeah. That's tough, but and what that could mean, because if you think about it, new head coach, new way of doing things, new system, however much it's going to be, everybody was happy to see them move away from that exotic smash mouth Mike Mularkey regime, right? But that doesn't mean that this one won't have its growing pains. So the question becomes, do you think because they look bad now, they'll be bad all season? Or do you think because they look bad now, they'll maybe just start a little bit slow but get better as the year goes on?
I think so, because I think they have the pieces in place. They have a good O-line. They have a running game. They have everything that's there. So either they're not getting their timing down or they're not understanding the playbook, because it is a brand new offense. But I got to give them some credit because LaFleur apparently, he's from the McVay tree, coaching tree. Mm-hmm. And yeah, man, I still draft Mariota, but now I'm wondering if I would draft Mariota as my backup quarterback in a one quarterback league.
Oh, well, okay. I think maybe other people have seen the Titans and feel the same way you do, and maybe that makes it so that you can get Mariota as a backup. I think you'd be pretty happy with Mariota's backup there.
Yeah, right? I think everyone's value in Tennessee is a little suppressed right now, a little bit.
Tennessee's a confusing team because there's potential at every position. Every projected starter has not just like, oh, they're pretty good where they are, but like they actually have like potential. Mariota could be better than he ever has been before. He's got plenty of room to grow from what we've seen. Derrick Henry, hey, maybe now that he has a chance at a featured role, who knows? Maybe he becomes a Jordan Howard type who just runs for 1,200 yards. Deion Lewis was a running back one last year. Maybe he ends up doing well, and having a big year, outperforming his ADP. Corey Davis could become a wide receiver one by the end of this year. This could be a breakout season. We could discover a new superstar, right? But we don't know any of those things. We don't know, and now we're excited about Taywan Taylor. I'm not sure. I don't now after the Tyrod Taylor scenario. Now I'm especially every alliterative T Taylor name. I'm I got to double check.
Didn't there used to be a Taiwan Taylor before Taywan Taylor? Wasn't he on the Raiders?
I think so. Well, Taiwan Wagner?
There was a Taiwan Taylor. I'm pretty sure he played on the Raiders.
We'll look it up. Yeah. Anyway, the point is there's optimism with all these players in Tennessee, but nothing is a guarantee, right? Right now, we're just happy that they're not playing Mularkey. They're not playing under Mularkey. And then we imagine what they're capable of now that they're not. But even if that is all true, you got to give them time. So I think they may represent they could be a bust if you believe in them now, but they also could be a great buy low candidate, all of them, in 3 weeks. So who knows?
I'm going to give you two teams to compare them with, and this will maybe segue a little later into our division draft, which is I'm excited to do. But fantasy-wise, do you feel better about the Titans or the Bears? First instinct.
The Titans.
Titans.
Yeah.
Titans or Bengals?
Titans.
Titans.
Well, I mean, pick a position, right? But like, I would rather wait on, because like Mixon and AJ Green are gonna go before Derrick Henry and Corey Davis, right? So I guess I would wait, and I would pass on those Bengals and try to get those Titans equivalents later. That's what I'd rather do. So yeah.
And I guess so. Okay, so Bears Bengals. Who do you like better for fantasy this year as a team?
I'll you know what? I'll say Bears just because everything I'm saying about the Titans, where like they could be better, but you still have to give them time. That's all true of the Bears too. And I think because their start. I mean, again, on day one, I'll pick the Bengals over the Bears. But over the course of the season, where you're getting the Bears players and where they have a chance to go, I'll pick the Bears.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really, maybe I'm irrational about it, but I'm really down on the Bengals.
No, I guess I would go with your opinion here. And finally, my final takeaway is that Kenyon Drake is confusing fantasy owners even more after, lighting up the Ravens. So I think he's been the most polarizing player in fantasy this offseason.
Is he still polarizing, though, or is everybody coming around to what we were already talking about?
I think he's polarizing because, most teams want a quality RB2 for their fantasy teams. What we do know is that the Dolphins are going to be terrible, and we know that Frank Gore is going to be there.
Yeah.
And we know that Drake was great without anyone else last year. Damian Williams was out. So we're asking ourselves, Christopher Harrison, like we know, has his number one flag player, loves his talent, and he has looked good on tape.
Yeah.
Some people, and like yesterday, for example, we'll get right into our draft in a minute here, but like someone drafted Lamar Miller over Kenyon Drake.
That's true. Yeah, but I mean, Miller has a little bit more job security, and he's a part of an offense with more potential, more upside. I understand that. I was actually going to say, as official timekeeper, we may need to cut our second segment idea in mind and go straight to our last, because we're at about 20 minutes now.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
But yeah, just to say, actually, well, no, we're at 17:40, so we're okay. We'll do that.
I'll pull it up right now. We could do 1 minute on each round for the first.
Before we do, the one more thing I want to say about the preseason, I was interested in seeing Adrian Peterson because, so again, same thing. He had like 11 rushes for 50-yard kind of stat line, right? And but I looked and he was at like 10 for 40, like pretty, like, all right, getting a lot of work, sure, but that 4.1 yards, like very average, run of the mill, good enough, but not necessarily good. And then his last run of the game for him was a 15-yard run, his longest of the day. And I was encouraged seeing that because the idea that maybe he needed some time to get going, but he still has the ability to like get going.
Okay.
And so, yeah, seeing that his 11th carry of the game, which was a lot for the time that he played, right? Because like you might end up in some games, it'll be halfway through the third quarter when you get your 11th carry. He got it halfway through the second, let's say, right? Mm-hmm. So that was pretty steady work. And his 11th carry of the game was that 15-yarder. It's not much, but it's something, right? And the idea that like his longest run of the day was that deep into it. I mean, there are too few running backs that you can believe in that somebody's gonna take a chance on Adrian Peterson and start him in week 1, and I don't think that's a bad idea.
I don't think it's terrible if you're waiting on RB2 for a long time as a short-term fix.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think a lot of people that like the way the first two rounds of the draft shake out to them, and they end up with like Brown and Hopkins, Brown and Beckham, just because that's best player available or whatever. Then they're looking at running backs. I wouldn't be surprised if Adrian Peterson is the third running back they end up drafting. Maybe I think it'd be a bad draft if he's your second running back. If you do that, if you go wide receiver, and then you draft Adrian Peterson second, that was a bad draft. You probably should not have gone wide receiver. But if you get him as your third running back, I think that's good.
This is, Adrian Peterson's later on. So if you draft a bell cow or you draft a Fournette or something, you wait a bunch of rounds, 5, 6, 7 rounds, then you get Peyton Barber, Adrian Peterson, maybe you get Jordan Wilkins, like these, and you would just kind of stream your RB2, right? pretty much.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know me for the way I've been talking. I would rather stream my wide receiver 2 than running back 2, but that also, I understand that. Like, I think you have an easier time of finding a wide receiver 2 on waivers, but you're not going to find a wide receiver 1 on waivers, and you can find running back 1s on waivers because a lot of them, they get the job from injury. You know what I mean? So it's like, I understand. I wouldn't do it, but I understand if that's part of your logic for why people choose to go heavy wide receiver and then wait on running back.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's different ways of looking at it, though, because I think I'd rather stream RB2 than wide receiver 2, only because in RB2s, you can play matchups and try and predict game scripts, which you could do in both for wide receiver 2, but it's a hard call.
I just think that there are too many decent wide receivers out there to get too precious about your second best one. You know, or if you're in a league that starts 3 receivers or 2 receivers and a flex, maybe I mean this about your third receiver.
Yeah, okay.
What I'm saying is, like, you know, there will be a flex worthy receiver on waivers every single week.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
At least as long as it takes you to like get settled at the position, you will be able to find a wide receiver that you can start on waivers for like the first 6 weeks of the year. Yeah. So that's why I don't worry about it.
That's fair to say. Yeah, okay. If that obviously, yeah, we should say we're always talking standard scoring first of all, and then we should.
I think it's even more true of PPR though. If wide receivers get more points, that just makes more receivers worth playing.
Yeah, it's easier for sure. Yeah. That's why we don't play PPR, Mo.
Yeah, there's no point. We're already covering all our bases just by what we do.
So what we're gonna do right now is something a little different. That Mo came up with an idea to do a divisional draft. We're gonna have right now. Mo, do you want to get into the details of that?
Yeah. So the idea is not a divisional draft. That's a supplement. That's the idea is next on Thursday's show, Jeff and I are gonna do our predictions of the standings for each division, NFL standings, based on our opinions about the fantasy players within those divisions. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna split it up. Jeff and I are each gonna take 4 divisions that we're gonna figure out and come back and predict on Thursday. And the way we're going to figure out which divisions Jeff and I cover is we're going to do a little mini draft. So Jeff just got up. So I'm going to give myself the first pick in the draft. Jeff, are you comfortable with that?
You know, I have a coin right here. I can.
All right, there you go.
Flip a coin?
Yeah.
All right. So I have a Canadian coin here. So
awesome.
We got heads and tails. So Mo, do you want to make the call? I'm going to flip it in the air.
Heads.
We got a heads right here.
Okay.
All right.
So how we'll do this? So I'll do 1, you do 2, 3, I do 4, 5, you do 6, 7, I do 8. Okay. All right. So number 1, the most interested I am in a division to talk about for fantasy implications. I'm going to go number 1 overall, the AFC South, because I'm interested.
Wow, I'm very
interested in talking about Houston. I'm interested in talking about Tennessee some more. Although I may have just blown it by what I did today. I gave you some gold without meaning to. I'm a little bit interested in talking about Indianapolis and Jacksonville, but I'm very interested in talking about Houston and Tennessee. So that's my first pick, AFC South. Jeff, you get 2.
I thought you were going to go NFC for sure, dude. You're giving me 2 NFC teams here.
If that's what you're going to take.
I am. I'll take the NFC South, actually, myself.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, and I will also take the NFC North.
Ah, yes, the highest 2 NFC divisions ranked on my list. All right.
Oh, sorry, buddy. Okay, so I got NFC South, NFC North. You have AFC South, and now you choose 2.
Yeah, so now I'm going to choose, I guess I'm going to go.
We know what's the last division.
yes, we do, which I'm going to get, right? So I'm going to go, again, I'm going to keep it weird here. So I'm going to go AFC West.
Wow, okay.
And again, I'm excited to talk about Kansas City. I'm excited to talk more about Denver. I'm excited to talk about Oakland. I'm excited to talk about the team formerly known as San Diego. And I'll also pick this is another wild one. I'm going to pick the AFC North. I'm very interested in how I think the division is going to play out based on how I feel about the fantasy players.
Wow. You know what, dude? Just because you're taking all of the AFC teams, I will take AFC East.
Okay.
I take an AFC East team just for fun. and we'll give you one NFC East team. You get the NFC East.
I'll take the NFC East, sure.
Which, well, let me just say quickly that I think it's actually debatable that I think the Eastern Conference teams, the NFC and AFC, are the two most boring at this point.
I think so. Yeah.
Overrated.
I mean, we'll talk about it, but I think, yeah, I don't know, because like all the real powerhouse is in New England, and we're bored of them, and the rest of that division sucks. Giants could be interesting, but if we're saying could be, that's not the same as saying that they are. Dallas, maybe, only because they're Dallas. Washington, maybe, only because somebody has to play for them, you know? Philadelphia, they're like the most boring defending Super Bowl champion I can think of. Like
fantasy wasteland in Philadelphia.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I have the AFC South, AFC West, AFC North, and NFC East, right?
Yes.
Cool. I mean, you have the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so on Thursday we'll talk. We'll we'll do the divisions basically, and we'll see who's going to lead each division.
So, and here's the funny thing is we could have just said I'll do the AFC, you do the NFC, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do a little draft, right? And then what ended up happening, one is I had a terrible draft, and two, I got stuck with all these AFC teams anyway. So that's fine because that's me, because I'm looking for wild opinions to make, right? So I'm not going to find wild opinions by saying the Rams are really good, but I'll find wild opinions by telling you how the more interesting AFC divisions are going to end up. So we'll see. But
we'll break it down based on our fantasy analysis. So, all right. That's great, man.
We're at 35 minutes. So once we cut out what we need to, it'll be about 30. So we nailed it.
Beautiful, man. So do you want to take us out with the music?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for joining us on the Unintangibles. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back on Thursday. Hope to see you then.